guys, welcome to another video, and in this one we'll start doing something new. This will be the start of a new series in which we'll be doing Python related projects to help you get familiar with the language and to practice the skills you've learned. So in this video we'll be looking at how to checking if a number is a prime number. But before you click out, please watch till the end, and I'm sure you'll learn new things. So before we get started, please like and subscribe and turn on notifications. This all helps me, and you'll know when the next video comes out. So let's get started. So the components so what a prime number is it's a number that is not divisible by anything except itself and the number 1. So say the number 7. The number 7 is a prime number because it is only divisible by 7 and 1. But take the number 10, it is divisible by 5 and 2, and 1 and 10. So it is not a prime number. So what do we need for this Python prime number checker? We need to get input, what the number is. We need to have a loop to check, is this a prime number? And we're going to need our returning or our output. So let's just get started. Number is equal to float input, what is the number? So this will get our input for us. So here, I know you may not be familiar with this, but a float is another data type, and it is decimals instead of an integer. So this could be useful later on in our code. So now that we have input, we can start making our loop. So we can do while I is less than math dot ceil math dot square root of number. So what this is it's saying while so this is a while loop, and until you reach this number, do our steps that we'll make later. So math.ceil is going to round our number up, and math.square root is going to take the square root of number. So to find a prime number, we can take the square root of the input, and then we can look at all the numbers before that and check if that is a factor of number. If it's not, then that is a prime number. So why don't we start making the while loop? So we're going to use modulo in our while loop, and what modulo does is it checks the remainder of 2 dividing it. So what modulo does so modulo is the remainder. So say it is 7 mod 2. The output would be 1 because 7 divided by 2 is 6, and the remainder is 1. So we'll use mod to check if the input has so we can use mod to check if the number is divisible. A prime number is a number that is not divisible by anything except itself and the number 1. So take the number 7. It is not divisible by anything except itself, the number 7, and the number 1. But say number 10. The number 10 is not a prime number because it is divisible by 10 and 1, but also 5 and 2. So in our code, what do we need? We're going to need input. We're going to need a loop, which will actually tell if it's the prime number, and then we're going to need our output. So let's just get started. So number is equal to float input what is the number? So here we're not using integer, but we're using a float value, which could come in handy later. It is just another data type that can take decimals as well. So now let's make our while loop. So while I is less than math, math dot ceil math dot square roots of number. So what this line is saying is while I, which is the number, is less than the math.ceil, which is rounding up, of the square root of our number, do this task. And the reason we're using math.ceil, which is rounding, is because in case it's an integer value, we want to round up. And math.square root, to check for a prime number, we can take the square root of a number and then check that number and all those before to see if those are a factor of the number, of the input. So to see if the number is a prime number, we're going to be using modulo. So modulo is the remainder of a number divided by another. So say it's 7 modulo 2. What's going to happen in 7 modulo 2 is it's going to do 7 divided by 2, and since the remainder is 1, it's going to return 1. So we can do if number modulo 1 is equal to 0, prime is equal to true, and although this could be misleading, this means that the number is not prime. And then break out of our code because we no longer need to run through our code. We found that it's no longer a prime number. So a few things. So right now, prime is equal to true. We've never set what prime is. So we first have to define the variable by just saying prime is equal to false. So what this means is that by default, the number is going to be prime. And then the next one is I has to at least be 2, because if it is 0, then number modulo 0 will come out as undefined and it will give us an error. And if it is 1, well, everything is divisible, any integer is divisible by 1, so it can't be that. So then it's unnecessary to have that either. So we can just do I is equal to 2. Alright, so since this is a while loop, we have to make sure we put I plus equal to 1 to make sure that our I is going to do plus 1 every time we call. And then also, over here we're doing math.ceil and math.square root. So these two are functions that are not part of the base Python code. It is a library, and libraries are basically other people's code that they've given out and that anyone can get into their code. So it is not, so the Python language hasn't made that, but other users have made it. So we can just do import math. Alright, well, just like that, we've made a loop that can check if this number is prime. So now for our output. So we can say if prime is equal to true, print no, this number is not prime. We have to make sure that we're putting number over here, int number, because we no longer need to have a decimal point. and then else, which would be all other, everything else, print yes, this number is prime. And the reason we only have two conditions is that there's only two possible scenarios. Yes, the number is prime, or no, this number is not prime. We have to make sure that we add number here. Okay, so we have our code. After further review, I found our bug. Here we wrote if number modulo 1 is equal to 0. That means that it is only looking for if the number modulo 1 is prime, and everything is. So this has to be if number modulo I is equal to 0. Now if we run this, after some more debugging, I found out what our problem was. So over here we have prime is equal to false. Now if you recall, this statement means if, for example, if you use them in an if statement, it would say if prime is equal to false, but it's not setting the value. What we want to do is set the value. Also, while debugging, just to make it less confusing, I switched the true and the false. So instead I started with prime is equal to true, and if we went through our loop and it looks like the prime is not and it looks like the number is not prime, then we can say that the prime is equal to false. So hopefully this works. What is the number? No, 10, 2. No, the number 10 is not prime. Okay, so this is just a tip for you guys. When debugging, print statements are very helpful. Over here, I had written print I, so I know if my loop seems to be working, which it is. So I, of course, no longer need this, but when debugging, it's important to put print statements everywhere so you know which part of your code is not working. Okay, so it looks like our code is working. Let's try some other ones. 23, 21, no. 105, no. Alright, things are looking good. So this means that our code works. Okay, well, that is the end of the video. This is the first one in this series, and there will be more projects to come. I hope you all enjoyed. This was a fairly simple project, but we'll get more complex. Please like and subscribe. If you made it this far into the video, thank you. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.